The three Democrats that made the seditious remarks telling the troops not to follow unlawful orders, that is as bad or worse as you think it is. And they are the deep state. That is ex-CIA and the other two are naval intelligence. That is the deep state. You think Mark Kelly got to go on the space station water tank without being deep state? No, dude. Like these three, what they are doing is sowing dissent within the ranks of the military. They defined unlawful orders as if you feel like it's unlawful, total libtard thing to do. Oh, do you think that fucking deporting illegal aliens is unlawful? Don't follow those orders. Like, no, you will go to prison for that shit. That's a court-martial. That will not go well because those are legal and lawful orders. But what they are trying to do is sow that discontent. What they are going for is the Podesta plan here. And this all comes around to when they won at the election, they took control of Virginia, Maryland, and DC now. And their plan, that wackadoodle AG in Virginia, they're going to come for Trump January 20th. They're going to create civil unrest, lawsuits against Trump with this Virginia AG, force Trump to put troops in the streets, and then they're going to call him, oh, you're a dictator. They're going with the Podesta plan. The leaked Podesta email plan, it said they could plan to do civil unrest, force Trump to put troops in the street, call him a dictator, secede blue states, and create an actual civil war. Then just
Hey, welcome to Courageous Media. Really appreciate you rolling up. Thanks so much for being here. 2 days to Thanksgiving. So much to be thankful for. All of us actually won the lottery by being born in this country. That is absolutely for sure. Could have been born anywhere else in the world, but we were born in the greatest nation in the history on the planet and highest standard of living ever. So just want to get that out there early as you start preparing for Thanksgiving Day. So much to be thankful for. Some things to be thankful for today, some things to regret and rue as once again, it looks like Pam Bondi has, I don't know what she's doing over there. But anyway, before we get into that, I do want to talk about Senator Mark Kelly, who is in the, he's headed straight for the finding out stage, I believe. He has been effing around. We all know the little video that he put together with several other, I believe 6 other of his Democratic colleagues, to put it mildly. And this is not going to go well, I don't think, for Senator Mark Kelly. You see, Mark Kelly has one distinguishing feature that separates him from everybody else on that video. That video was made by ex-CIA people and ex-military people, and all of them did the same thing. They trumpeted their curriculum by their CV. I am a former Army, former Air Force. They stated their rank. The one who was former CIA stated that as well. But what Kelly has that distinguishes him from all the rest of those people is those in the CIA and in the military were all discharged from duty. They did not retire. In Mark Kelly's case, he retired from the military. And that carries, as an officer, that carries a very special connotation. And that is, as a retired military officer, unless you are specifically discharged, you are subject to lifelong recall. Meaning that in the event of a war, if you're a retired military officer, you can be recalled at any time. That was done in order to, allow for the recalling of former officers during wartime. But the statute does not merely exist in wartime. It can be used at any time. You, as a military officer, retired, you can be recalled at any time. And I believe Mark Kelly is about to find out that that one distinguishing feature is going to land him in a whole lot of hot water. As this gentleman said, they are going for the Podesta plan. This was absolutely a deep state op in order to try to sow dissent in the military, in order to try to create the paradigm for civil unrest and for essentially trying to go after Trump. But I really appreciate everybody being here. Thanks so much for rolling up. Let's dive right in because Mark Kelly is facing some serious trouble. Check this out.
We have breaking news from the Pentagon. The Department of Defense says it has received, quote, serious allegations of misconduct against Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. Now, it's important to note, Kelly is one of the 6 Democratic senators, all of whom served in the military or intelligence community, who now say they're facing heightened threats after President Trump accused them of seditious behavior, punishable by death, because they posted a video encouraging service members to refuse illegal orders from the administration. MS Now's Julia Juster is also in Washington for us. Julia, what can you tell us about these allegations?
Well, Chris, we found out through a post from the official Department of War account, Department of Defense, saying that they received these serious allegations about Mark Kelly and said that a thorough review of these allegations has been initiated to determine further actions, which may include recall to active duty for court-martial proceedings or administrative measures. And these are violations, they are saying, of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, what they are citing specifically as potential violations of that in that code is a prohibiting of actions intended to interfere with the loyalty, morale, or good order and discipline of the armed forces. Any violations will be addressed through appropriate legal channels. Now, they said that comments would be limited due to this being an ongoing.
So Mark Kelly is now facing possible UCMJ action. He cannot be defended by a federal judge in this case. He cannot be, there's no freedom of speech necessarily in that, not to the same extent that a civilian has, because he touted the fact that he was former Navy, that he was a captain in the Navy. He used his rank and his previous service in order to lend credence and credibility to his statements. However, as a former military officer, he is still bound by UCMJ provisions. That means he does not have the same level of free speech as a regular citizen does, especially if he uses his military rank in the process. So check this out from Pete Hegseth. The video made by the seditious six was despicable, reckless, and false. Encouraging our warriors to ignore the orders of their commanders undermines every aspect of good order and discipline, which is straight out of the statute. The foolish sacred screed sows doubt and confusion, which only puts our warriors in danger. 5 of the 6 individuals in the video do not fall under Department of War jurisdiction. 1 is from the CIA and 4 are former military, but not retired. They were discharged, meaning they have no obligation of service after that. However, Mark Kelly, retired Navy, is still subject to UCMJ, and he knows that. As was announced, the Department of War is reviewing his statements and actions, which were addressed directly to all troops while explicitly using his rank and service affiliation, lending the appearance of authority to his words. Kelly's conduct brings discredit upon the armed forces and will be addressed appropriately. Now, here is the official statement from the Department of War. That was Pete Hegseth's personal account. Here is the which also doubles as his official account as the Secretary of War. But here is an official statement from the department itself. The Department of War has received serious allegations of misconduct against Captain Mark Kelly. Now, there's a little discrepancy here because Pete Hegseth said he's retired as a commander. This is saying he was a captain. I'm not sure what his final rank is. Really, the only difference is whether he was an 05 or an 06. In accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice 10 U.S.C. 688 and other applicable regulations, a thorough review of these allegations has been initiated to determine further actions, which may include recall to active duty for court-martial proceedings. There we go. Because he is retired Navy, retired military, he can be recalled at any time and for pretty much any reason. In this case, they could recall him to active duty and put him in front of a courts-martial, which is a military tribunal with a 3-judge jury panel. He would be given military representation. He's entitled to that. There would be a prosecutor. There would be his military defense attorney. And if convicted, he could face anything from administrative discipline, letters of reprimand, up to possible dishonorable discharge, the revocation of his pension, up to actual prison time. And I would have to check the UCMJ. I know that sedition does carry the potential of a death penalty under U.S. law, under U.S. code. However, under the UCMJ, if he's convicted of, bringing discredit on the military, of, undermining good order and discipline, that would probably not be a capital offense, but it would carry and could carry serious jail time, which would essentially end his career. It would end his Senate career. It could get very, very ugly for Mark Kelly. He is very much approaching the find out stage of his little FAFO progressive wet dream. Now, check out, here's Carolyn Leavitt, press secretary, talking about this very fact as she was asked about the Pete Hegseth text.
The White House is supportive of the Department of War's investigation into Senator Mark Kelly. And I think what Senator Mark Kelly was actually trying to do was intimidate the 1.3 million active duty service members who are currently serving in our United States Armed Forces with that video that he and his Democrat colleagues put out. Senator Mark Kelly well knows the rules of the military and the respect that one must have for the chain of command, and that all lawful orders are presumed to be legal by our service members. You can't have a functioning military if there is disorder and chaos within the ranks, and that's what these Democrat members were encouraging. It's very clear, and not a single one of them, since they've been pressed by the media, and I'll give you guys credit for that, can point to a single illegal order that this administration has given down, because it does not exist. They knew what they were doing in this video, and Senator Mark Kelly and all of them should be held accountable for that.
Absolutely. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew there have been no unlawful orders. And let's clear that up. You can check out my video from a couple days ago where I discussed the difference between an illegal order and an unlawful order. And as a military member, you are only under the moral obligation to not follow an unlawful order, because you cannot, as a military member, be expected to engage in some sort of legal jurisprudence to determine if this particular order that you've been given is legal. You can only determine if it is unlawful, meaning if it rises to an extreme standard of, you were told to execute a prisoner of war. If you were told to execute civilians, basically line them up in a trench and shoot them in the head. Those sorts of things are obvious unlawful orders, and you are under a moral responsibility to not follow them. But you can't just not follow them. You have to take it up the chain of command. It may be an alternate chain of command. You may be going to direct to the JAG, the Judge Advocate General. There are things you have to do. You can't just simply walk away. And Mark Kelly knows all this. Mark Kelly could be facing some serious trouble over this. And the beautiful part is this, if this were to proceed, it falls entirely and completely under the Department of War, under the military, under the UCMJ, which means it would be presided over by military officers under the direction of Pete Hegseth. Pam Bondi would have nothing to do with it. It would be entirely out of the DOJ's hands. It would be entirely out of the hands of any federal judge. This would be a military tribunal. It would be a military proceeding. And he could face, and if convicted and facing jail time, he wouldn't go to a federal prison. He would go to Leavenworth or something. I don't think the Navy might have its own, but I believe Leavenworth essentially acts as the military prison for all branches of the military. But let me know what you think, because this is extremely interesting. Pam Bondi has been a complete disappointment, but Pete Hegseth is not. Pete Hegseth is one of the few secretaries in the cabinet that has not effed around, has done what he has said he was going to do. Him and Tulsi Gabbard have been amazing. So let me know what you think in the comments before we get into this last little clip about this, because if you remember the first clip, the gentleman was talking about the Podesta plan. He was talking about this is a deep state op. Well, Jesse Waters picked up on that. I want you to hear this, because here's Jesse Waters on the 5 talking about the fact that this video, this seditious video, this was not cooked up by these 7 Democrats just off the cuff. No. This was planned and executed by deep state members of the CIA. Check this out.
I sort of wanted her to keep talking. I mean, what foolishness. This is a woman who won a year ago by 0.3 of a percentage point in Michigan, by 19,000 votes out of 5 million cast. And she speaks like this: I want the people of Michigan, Arizona to know their senators are interested in sound bites and social media screeds rather than facts and figures.
So I talked to 2 CIA officers who said that this is a part of a larger hoax, and what they're doing here is they're trying to condition the country to prepare for something bad that's about to happen at the hands of Donald Trump. It's straight out of the CIA playbook. It's a destabilization operation where you get people to mistrust each other. And you do this because she's an analyst. And as an analyst, she would make sure what propaganda operations were successful, which ones weren't. So she knows what works. So the first part of the video, you establish authority. I'm CIA, I'm military, you need to trust us. Second part of the video, they introduce the threat. And the threat's not foreign, the threat's domestic, the threat's Donald Trump. And then at the end, they introduce the solution. What's the solution? You resist, you say no. But they don't give an option. They say this is an obligation for you to do. Now, she is being run because she didn't come up with this herself. She's a Brennan acolyte, and you usually don't have congressmen and senators doing anything together. They kind of hate each other. So in order to organize this had to have had some sort of handler telling her what to do. And it was risky because nothing like this has ever been done in the history of the country. And you can even tell because the media was skeptical and they couldn't answer the question. So they hadn't even been read in on the operation. You see them fumbling and stumbling. And I'm glad that the U.S. military is now investigating this guy, Kelly, because this is what we expect from Donald Trump 2.0. You can't have the deep state interfering with a duly elected presidency and get away with it.
Absolutely. Jesse Waters is 100% correct. I believe this was a deep state op from the get-go. This came from the bowels of the CIA. The only thing they didn't do was properly inform, vet, prepare the media, which they're normally very good at. So somebody dropped the ball there because the media was not prepared. They did not pick up the mantra. They didn't pick up all the talking points and immediately start touting, parroting this as the propaganda arm of the deep state and the DNC and the globalist cabal of corruptocrats. So when the media got this, they were confused. They didn't know what to do. They actually started asking real questions of these morons in the video. And the whole thing has started to fall apart. And what could really drive a wedge into this and really create serious problems for the Democrats is for Pete Hegseth to go 100% all in scorched earth on Mark Kelly. I believe Mark Kelly needs to go to prison, specifically military prison, Fort Leavenworth. He needs to be prosecuted under the UCMJ, under a military tribunal. I would televise the whole thing, and I would make this stick. I would make sure that that at least one of them is held accountable. Meanwhile, I would get Pam Bondi figuring out what she can do from the civilian end. If they can actually charge these people with sedition, knowing that they use their military rank and affiliation, whether it's CIA or actual military, if they can go after them criminally under the Sedition Act of the U.S. Code, they can't go after them militarily, but they can certainly go after them civilly, so criminally. So let's see what happens there. Really appreciate you rolling up. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please smash that like button, comment, subscribe, turn on the notifications for me if you haven't. And if you like the channel, please share this with everybody that you know. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm when you watch every video we post all the way through. Like and comment and share it.